Let's start with the big message that came in from Raksha Mantri Rajnath Singh, a stern warning issued to Pakistan, saying that any misadventure in the Sir Creek sector would be met with a decisive response that could alter both history and geography. Speaking from Bhuj in Gujarat while celebrating Dussehra with our Indian Armed Forces, Rajnath Singh highlighted Pakistan's ongoing disputes over the region despite India's repeated efforts to resolve the issue through dialogue. He pointed out that Pakistan's recent military infrastructure expansion in the area is a sign of its ill intent and then reminded Pakistan of India's decisive military action in 1965, where Indian forces advanced to Lahore, saying that the road to Karachi also passes through Sir Creek, signalling India's readiness to respond firmly in 2025 if provoked at all. Let's quickly remind you of what was said by the Raksha Mantri yesterday. Then we'll go across to more exclusive inputs that we're tracking here.
आज़ादी के 78 साल बीत जाने के बावजूद सरक्रीक इलाके में सीमा को लेकर एक विवाद खड़ा किया जाता है। भारत ने कई बार बातचीत के रास्ते इसका समाधान करने का प्रयास किया है, मगर पाकिस्तान की नीयत में खोट है, उसकी नीयत साफ नहीं है। जिस तरह से हाल में पाकिस्तान की फौज ने सरक्रीक के सटे इलाकों में अपना मिलिट्री इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर बढ़ाया है, वह उसकी नीयत बताता है। साथियों, भारत की सीमाओं की रक्षा भारतीय सेनाएं और बॉर्डर सिक्योरिटी फोर्स मिलकर मुस्तैदी से कर रही हैं। अगर सरक्रीक इलाके में पाकिस्तान की ओर से कोई भी हिमाकत की गई तो उसे ऐसा करारा जवाब मिलेगा कि इतिहास और भूगोल दोनों बदल जाएंगे मेरे साथियों। और 1965 की जंग में भारत की सेना ने लाहौर तक पहुंचने का सामर्थ्य भी दिखाया।
Going across to more exclusive news break that we're tracking on this very story. Ever since Raksha Mantri Rajnath Singh sent out that strong message to Pakistan, we have been tracking several inputs that reveal Pakistan's extensive military build-up near the disputed Sir Creek region. Sources confirm the establishment of military complexes, airstrips, naval units, all of this in the very same area. Pakistan has boosted battalion strength, air power and naval presence with Chinese assistance, and tensions are rising. Do remember, as Pakistan enhances its defences, including the Bholari Air Base and new naval patrols following India's recent operations. So upping its military infrastructure essentially in a post-operation scenario is what is being looked at by India very closely. Going across to Anand Narasimhan, who joins us from the newsroom. Anand, tell us a little bit about why is it that Raksha Mantri Rajnath Singh felt the need to address this, send out the strong message to Pakistan. What are these exclusive inputs pointing to?
Good afternoon, Kritsveen, and good afternoon to our viewers. Let's try and understand this in multiple perspectives. The first one being, what is the Sir Creek area? The Sir Creek area is where the estuaries of various rivers end up into the Arabian Sea, and this is the entire creek that separates Kutch from Gujarat. So the Kutch from the Pakistani Sindh province. So Gujarat Kutch region and the Pakistani Sindh province is separated by this Sir Creek. Now, these disputes go back to pre-independence in around 1908, when there was a dispute about where a particular pile of firewood that was kept in region and area belonged to who. Did it belong to the Kutchis or did it belong to the Sindhis on that side? And with partition also, there is a Sir Creek doctrine which says that the waters eastward of the creek belong to Pakistan. There is no ownership and there is no border in this area, and anything on the western side actually comes southern side, and on this side falls into Indian territory. So these doctrines have also been put in place, and Sir Creek has also been an area for dispute for multiple other reasons too. There is a huge reserve of shale gas and natural gas in this area. So oil and natural gas reserves are there in this area. So who has the rights to try and mine these is another question. Fishermen regularly use this area for a rich flora there and fauna there, and oftentimes fishermen from either side get arrested because they sway into the waters. The other part is now operationally, post-Operation Sindoor, the Bholari air base was damaged. Now, Bholari was the place from where the Pakistanis mounted attacks towards Bharat, close into Gujarat and also into Rajasthan, and they also tried to make a foray into the national capital. And that's why since 2017 this Bholari air base was built by the Pakistanis in the Sindh region. Now what Bharat has turned around and said that your build-up is going to be not just countered. Clearly we are aware of what is going on, and that's why the Raksha Mantri has openly called them out. Now in terms of operationally, what have the Pakistanis done recently? Pakistan has increased 4 more Creek battalions of the Sindh regiment. So there are total 6 military battalions that are protecting and operation. The 33rd Creek Battalion was deployed in the Badin district headquarters in 2021. The 34th Creek Battalion was deployed in the Jati area in 2025. The 35th Creek Battalion deployed at the Keti Bandar in 2025. And there is a backup Creek Battalion reserve force for the Sir Creek offensive. So they are also here. All battalions have infantry, amphibious strength and power, and they are all being boosted there, or being their presence along with AVACs, etc. They are being put there. In fact, latest radars, AVACs, air defense missiles, Lockheed P-3 Orion deployed near the Sir Creek, mostly developed by Chinese technology. Now, why this reinforcement and build up here? Because the Pakistanis now believe that the next foray, and if they do transgressions, and if the Operation Sindoor button is unpaused, then this will be the region from where Bharat will mount its offensive, which will not only be devastating for the Pakistanis, it will also alter the geographic definition. This is exactly what the Raksha Mantri Rajnath Singh said, कि हम आपका नक्शा भी बदल देंगे. We will change it if you try and get too aggressive in this region. The other thing is that our important ports, which will connect into the IMEC, that is the India Middle Eastern corridor, trade corridor, are also in this region, and the Pakistanis and the Chinese would want to try and foray and keep watch on what is happening. Bharat is also trying to mine its own oil reserves. We found huge reserves and a basin in Andaman Nicobar Islands in that region, but we are also actively trying to mine and search in this region, and that's the reason why the Pakistanis want to try and up the ante, and it's not being done by the Pakistanis. This thought and this mounting is being done by the Chinese, whose fishing trawlers are also coming all the way. Now there are these two islands called Badal and Bundu, which are off the Karachi coast, not so far away from Sir Creek, which the Pakistanis have actually pledged to the Chinese, who are developing these two places not just for dump, but these are all about 25 hectares, small islands. They are very Badal and Bundu islands are small islands, but they are enough for creating mini naval bases, enough for the Chinese submarines to try and prowl around this area and dock there. So the Chinese are the ones who are actually creating this, and that's why we are very, very carefully watching this. And if matters come to a head, our bandobast, our deployments are also equally stronger, and we've shown the might of the Indian Armed Forces and what we are capable of doing. It's just that this warning has been called out to let the Pakistanis know that we are watching, we are aware, and we are prepared. And if you try to be adventurous, you will be pushed back.
Okay, Anand, stay on with us. Lieutenant General D.P. Pandey joins us on the broadcast too. Good afternoon, Lieutenant General Pandey. Lieutenant General Pandey, Anand just gave us an overview of what the Pakistani strategy here could be. Why did we see Raksha Mantri Rajnath Singh send out that all-important warning? Tell us what you make of the pattern we've largely witnessed post-2019, and more importantly, post-Operation Sindoor. What do you think explains the kind of heightened deployment of Creek battalions in this region by Pakistan Army?
So good afternoon, Christine. A couple of things, essentially these areas are supposed to be manned by paramilitary forces. They should have deployed only rangers. On our side, the BSF mans this area. You don't generally get the regulars in front, because the moment you get the regular forces along the border, the possibility of escalation becomes much more faster. So this whole effort which the Pakistanis are doing, of course, with the entire support, tacit support and financial and the guidance of the Chinese, have got larger ramifications. A couple of things Anand has highlighted, but I will speak of some things which can go beyond. One is, not only the fishing trawling effort and all, but the challenge is about pushing in terrorists from this side, smuggling of drugs. Yeah. All these things continue. The moment you have the regulars in front, they become hub of terror activities. right? The second part is, if you look at our borders, both sides, the northern edge and the southern edge. Northern edge is Siachen, which remains under tenuous conditions, and on the southern edge is Sir Creek. While in 1968, the tribunal had given very clear orders, giving 90% stake to us, following the international norm that the deepest part of the navigable water canal channel should become the part of the boundary. The Pakistanis have not allowed this thing to settle down. What happened in 1965? The war technically commenced from here. They tried a misadventure here. It resulted in a war. In 1999, if you recall, there's a MiG-21 of ours which was flying. They fired a missile on that. And in a similar time frame, an Atlantic aircraft of the Pakistanis was flying, carrying 12 naval officers, which got shot down. So when you come this close to carry out military activities in the areas of dispute, the chances of escalation to conventional or beyond becomes very, very high. I look at the sensitivity part. So while you are trying to claim the area by putting boots on ground, dominating, carrying out patrols, carrying on naval, air, and military to be operating under the tutelage of the Chinese, the chances of escalation, a spark going out of control are very, very high, right? And that should be an area of issue of concern. And I think while our intelligence sources, our technological systems are quite sanguine and aware of what is happening, and this is the right time when Rajnath Singh, the Raksha Mantri, has called out and said, you want to keep the borders scaled down, the tempers low, you need to de-escalate and push behind the closer lines and keep these areas to be manned by the paramilitary forces, Rangers and the BSF on either side, which is the way international boundaries should be managed, right? I think it's a very, very serious concern. Yeah. We need to look at it and we need to talk about it to ensure that the Pakistanis tamp down, tone down on the activities on the line.
In as many words, Raksha Mantri said the route to Karachi passes through the creek. So a stern reminder there. Lieutenant General Pandey, I'll come back to you in just a bit. I do have a follow-up. But before that, Anand, if we can also talk about the other aspect of the story, which is the economic value here. So you spoke a little bit about oil and gas reserves. You spoke a little bit about impact on local fishermen, for instance. How much of an importance does this aspect hold for India is why we're also looking at this militarily?
See, if that region is hot, then any kind of commercial activity will be a problem. But what General Pandey said, and he can weigh in further on this, is the fact that it doesn't become just an operation for drug cartels. Is this reorganizing the drug cartels in such a way that they also get military backing or military cover, and also are jihadis now going to be pushed up to these areas to try and infiltrate from this region? Although it is desert area, it's not easy, it's very difficult. But for Bharat to try and mount another front here, which means it also stretches our own reserves. We have a far bigger geographical boundary to protect, which is not marked or which is not drawn properly. Compared to most other nations across the world, barring perhaps China. So this is something which we will also be stretched, and General Pandey can weigh in on this, because simultaneously he talked about what's happening in Siachen. Look at what's happening in Bumla. There are satellite images which show that the Chinese are increasing their activities at Bumla, at that border, with making helipads and trying to create reinforcements. So not just in the west, but also in the east and also in the north, at all points we are finding ourselves being stretched. We are now looking at a boat and a base in Andaman Nicobar Islands and trying to develop that region, because we know that the Chinese are already moving in and they've already cornered Hambantota. So they are trying to not just encircle us from all sides, they can then choose their place to start pinpricking us to start a conflict. This place in the past, like he said, has also seen conflict and it has triggered wars. So clearly there is much more to it than meets the eye. General Pandey, so if the Pakistanis are moving 6 battalions there, that means that they have some serious designs in that region. Is it also to thwart commercial and fishing activity, or to facilitate Chinese movement into that region and onward to the Karachi coast?
So Anand, I'll just highlight a couple of things. Fishing activity is a very, very local activity, right? Even the Chinese trawlers coming into this area, there's not much they can harness. okay, pitching in for oil and gas for tomorrow after 5 years or 10 years when it comes out, or maybe 5 decades, a second matter. But what is very important is, please understand, if you look at the Chinese activities, not only in terms of guidance and equipment, but why should they be carrying out activities opposite POK, in
Yeah.
POJK, in this area, or in Bumla? So while these are issues which push our, they stretch our forces on multiple sides, right? So I think the one is a military implication.
Yeah.
But another part which is very important is, as you pack your IBs in the north, your borders get more secure. The possibilities of terrorists crossing on this side becomes reduced. These bases of military provide launch pads for putting
Yeah.
across terrorists or stuff which they need to carry inside. Because once they are inside, movement becomes easier. We may feel that they are deserts, but they have been traditionally used for not only smuggling of goods, but they've been also used for smuggling of drugs. And when drugs follow, then men follow, and of course, weapon explosives and all follow. So these are tricky points, right? Because now it will involve. Uh, Please understand, it is a very manpower intensive.
Yeah.
Like mountains, Sir Creek. If I have been in those areas, it is highly, the rivers change course, the canals change course, they drive up. There are tidal inclusions. Suddenly, you'll find islands popping up. So the negotiating of this entire area coming on to the Kutch is much more simpler, easier in trickle. And for the BSF to manage this entire area is very, very tough. There are a large
Lieutenant
number
General
of
Pandey, hasn't
wasteland
India also
marshlands.
kept pace, especially since 2008 Mumbai terror attacks? Because like you rightly pointed out, even men across the border are using this one passage. Hasn't India kept up since then? We're
Yes,
looking at this
yes,
very
yes,
closely
yes.
since then.
Absolutely. We have kept pace. We got the numbers there. You got modern systems that are coming here. You got boats. You got very, very fast moving patrol boats have been put in this place. You got very modern. You got the roads coming out very, very close to these areas. Wherever possible, you had the ferry boats. You got the bridges which has come about. But please understand that when you sneak out, because these are the places the Pakistanis are not planning to carry out a significant operation technically onto our side. These are places for launch bases.
Yeah.
So when you are defending the area, it becomes that much manpower, equipment intensive. So that is what exactly Anand was saying, that the moment you start keeping pace, you start building up infrastructure, you add men onto the ground. Then when you start looking at Bumla and other places, you get stretched.
Yeah.
So, this is the game. You look at the Chinese game, the Chinese are using Pakistan military as a proxy to ensure that we continue to remain stretched and embroiled in these wars so that our numbers, we have the numbers, but yet to fight a two-front, two-border issue will always remain a challenge, right? And therefore, it is an issue. The people are keeping pace with it, but how much pace is enough? When you build a 4 battalions worth size, it's a brigade worth of an area. It also gives a launch pad for carrying out very, very silly mini incursions. And in our context, Pakistanis may lose kilometers. It doesn't make a difference to them. They will still be able to sell a narrative to the people and to the world differently.
Yes.
In our case, an inch which is lost, a drop of water or a small little rivulet which is lost or seem to be lost, you can well imagine what will happen in the parliament.
And we did see ripples of that kind of a redeployment during the LAC conflict. So that's essentially another aspect that you're trying to highlight here. Thank you so much, Lieutenant General Pandey. Always a pleasure. Thank you for sharing your thoughts and breaking down that all-important story for us. That's the big message that's been sent out by Raksha Mantri Rajnath Singh.